You're listening to the AFTERBUZZ TV network. Now the largest new media platform on the web and your number one source for after-show entertainment.
Very good, Dean.
The AFTERBUZZ Studios in Los Angeles, California. Presented by Maria Menounos and streaming live thanks to Akamai Technologies. This is AFTERBUZZ TV's Teen Wolf After Show. We'll break down tonight's episode and get you all the latest news and gossip. And now, another post-game wrap-up show for your favorite TV show. It's AFTERBUZZ TV's Teen Wolf After Show.
Hello, AfterBuzzers. We're here doing another AfterBuzz TV after show for MTV's Teen Wolf Season 3, Episode 23, Insatiable. I'm your host this evening, Kristen Elizabeth Snyder, and joining me, AfterBuzz TV host June Lee.
Hey, everyone.
Our special guest this evening plays the Nogitsune on MTV's Teen Wolf. Yeah. Please welcome Aaron Hendry.
Hey, what's up?
Woo!
It's very peaceful, like, underwater harp music for this show.
This music was actually the death scene of Allison.
That's what it is! That was a good scene.
Oh my gosh, that's why I needed this.
Scene.
That's why I needed this music to open.
Was it total, like, Last of the Mohicans, like, super duper true love
heroic,
fest, man?
beautiful.
Oh my God.
I cried.
Yeah.
I can't say enough.
I cried like a baby, and I'm not afraid to admit to it.
So before we get into the show, I want to say, for everyone who doesn't know at home, you're the man behind the raps that we haven't seen.
Oh my God, you're a hero behind the raps.
I am the man behind the mask, and it's a blast. I mean, getting to make up something like that is just, you know, it's a treat for an actor to get to do something that is a total act of invention. You know?
And I can kind of hear the Nogitsune in your voice, so I want to know how much of, I mean, you and Styles, Dylan O'Brien, how much of the script did you guys split? Because I definitely hear it in your voice. You guys have very kind of similar tones when he tries to go to that place.
You know, what's cool is
you're right. I hear it.
Right? You hear it? I'm like kind of scared over here. The studio doors are locked.
Dylan
There's no getting out.
Got on just instantly. I mean, just instantly. He's a fantastic young actor and an awesome guy. And so within like a day or two of shooting, we already wanted to learn to do stuff the same. You know what I mean? We'd stand around like practicing the words the same and like thinking up little motions. And in fact, we I forgot about this. We developed a little. When we were sitting on set, because sometimes we do really late nights, we'll do night shoots, we developed a little game called Late Night Phone Calls between Styles and the Nogitsune, where I'd call him in the middle of the night and be like, Styles, it's the Nogitsune.
Oh my.
You remember that one time that I took over your body and made you attack your best friend?
Oh my God, I'm kind of really scared.
I'm really sorry I did that. And we play this stupid little game where we leave messages back and forth as Styles and the Nogitsune.
I'm like tearing up. That is so scary.
You are tearing up.
I am tearing up. Like, that voice is so creepy and scary to me.
I gotta say, like, I thought the actor who behind the raps was Asian because you do the Japanese accent so well.
Oh, thank you.
So
Thanks.
the fact that you're Caucasian just shocked me so much.
That is a great point.
That's a white boy playing that spirit. That's wrong.
I was trying to be politically correct, but
No, it's, the cool thing was that when I got the sides, when I got the first few pages and I went to read for it, what they were giving you was so interesting and so specific, and it's weird the jobs we really want. Like, I got these 3 pages and I went to my manager's office and I said, I want this job so bad.
Wow.
And they were like, really? I mean, not that they didn't think it was great, but they were like, you're not going to see your face. So, I was like, I want this job so bad, because sometimes you read something and you just know you can do something special with it. And that's, for me as an actor, I do a lot of performing that's specifically physical performing. I do a lot of voiceover, and I just knew, I thought what they've given you here is is that it writes into the scene that they want a movement that is somehow unhuman.
Yes.
It writes into the scene all this Japanese dialogue. So you have a bilingual character is always very interesting to me because there's an alienating element to it. You know what I mean? There's something about being placed in the position where we don't understand that is immediately intriguing and frightening to us.
Right.
And,
Right.
You know, and I'd never heard of the Nogitsune, but I just did like a little, Google search and started reading, and I thought, I'm being asked to play a supernatural animal. And I was like, this is cool, I want to do this. So,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've seen any of our shows, but Marissa, I don't know if you have any music you can play, but we have been practicing sort of your moves and mimicking the Nogitsune.
Kristen has the Nogitsune dance.
Right? And I don't
Awesome.
know if you can kind of direct me and like how I can make this better.
All right. Okay.
But
The Nogitsune dance. I like that. I like that because the shoulder's a big part of it. But first I gotta tell you, there was one time on set after, I guess about the 4th episode I was in, there was, at the lunch break, there was an impromptu like Nogitsune walk-off. Like the crew started like this became what you're describing became like the competition of the lunchtime activity was who can do the Nogitsune walk. And it's okay. So there's a few tricks. Here's the first thing.
All right, I'm ready.
Yes, we're ready.
Here was the thing that. The first thing that was in the process of building that walk was written in is the importance of the teeth. It's always talking about his jaws, even in that first. So even before I went to the audition, I just started imagining like this giant mouth of fangs and everything I would do, like that would be the sensory organ that led me through the world, like this giant mouth of fangs just leads you through the world, and it makes immediately your neck goes forward and your chest does this.
okay, that's what I was missing.
Because you're walking around your teeth. There it is. Yeah, it's kind of Axl Rosy too, you know what I mean? And it's
I was
but just
definitely
because you
missing
want to bite something everywhere, like everything.
Oh, I do.
And then totally makes you want to sink your teeth into stuff. And then the second part was actually an accident because once they got and the visual effects guys that you cracked yourself up, you're like, this is my show.
I'm just imagining doing this later to anyone.
Awesome.
Yeah, for those who are only listening,
whoa.
it will be so worth it to just go to
YouTube.
YouTube and just see Kristen do this.
Yeah, because a lot of our viewers and listeners are on iTunes, but those of you listening on iTunes right now, don't forget that you can go to YouTube and actually see Aaron and the man behind the raps.
Yes.
And the Nogitsune walk.
Well, also, like a lot of people don't know that he's also the doctor.
The doctor.
Brunski,
He's the doctor.
Dr. Brunski.
He's the Dr. Brunski.
Yeah,
And
which
so
was
different, too.
Total and a total surprise. I had no idea that was coming, and literally got a call, got sent the script, and I was like, I wasn't in one of the scripts. And I was like, why are you saying this to me? He's like, well, you're playing both these guys now. And so I immediately started asking, do you want people to recognize that one actor is playing both of them? Do you want that to tie in? And he wouldn't answer a lot about that. And I'm actually, I there's stuff I can't say beyond where we are in the season. But, one thing I'm always amazed with is Jeff Davis, who invented the show, is just, I mean, it's like he games the plot in his own head.
He does.
And he's got 1,000 moves ahead of himself that could end up 1,000 different ways that he's gaming. And, one thing we were talking about before the show is what I think he does really brilliantly is he gets the audience to game it with him.
Right.
He loves doing things. When I said to him, do you want to recognize? He says, I don't know. Maybe they'll recognize it. Maybe they won't. And he loves that. He loves putting in the audience the question of, is there a connection here? Is this going somewhere? And then waiting as long as he can to answer that question, because again, that's like,
it's so true.
Well, and it's horror style. Like what we're afraid of is our unknown. And the scariest part is when we sit there with our own mind going, oh my God, what if this, what if that? Like that's what's scary.
The stories we tell ourselves and the writers that play with that are fascinating and will always keep our attention, such as Jeff Davis.
Yeah, the writers from Teen scene with like they will literally read the stuff that the fans write and stuff like that, and they'll be like, "Wow, that's pretty good." And that's what's so amazing is they're so flexible.
Well, and either first off, I mean, for a show that's a teenage soap opera where the premise is, wouldn't it be cool if we were werewolves?
Yeah,
Right.
Like the writing's good.
Yeah.
You read the
Amazing.
scenes,
I
and as an
know.
actor, you're like, I can't wait to play. Like that scene I had with the coach last night.
Yeah.
Couldn't wait to play that scene.
That was so funny.
And then the scene where I had Styles trapped in the locker. Like we both, tiny little scene, not even much dialogue, but we both read this and we were like, this is awesome. This is horrifying.
Yeah, it really is horrifying.
And it's, and I gotta say also on behalf of the actors there, they come through for each other. Like when they were shooting his stuff in the locker, I mean, often when you do what's called reverses, the two actors won't even be there for each other. And you'll be doing your shots and then they do theirs. And sometimes there's no choice on that. Sometimes you're both working on different stuff and you can't be in the same room. But when we shot that scene, it was towards the end of the week, so we were shooting late at night, and he sat in the chair with like a little earpiece mic thing and delivered all the dialogue while they were shooting that stuff with me in the locker room.
Wow.
And in the little locker they made for him, I literally stood behind him at the vent and would talk to him like this, like through the vent. And actually was like throwing dialogue that wasn't in there, just again as scared out of his mind as I could. And we had a blast doing that.
What did you say that
It's-
wasn't in the
it's,
script?
So amazing.
AfterBuzz exclusive.
Well, I would just like you said, the sound is so powerful. And, as actors, we're always looking to allow ourselves to slip into our imagination. So, like the Nogitsune, their voice became, this thing that just. I would in scenes I'd get right because, like I said, I would use his teeth as his eyes almost. Like,
Right.
I wanted
They
to
are.
see someone else. I'd get right up on with my teeth, and I'd just sometimes just. I got so creepy. I'd get right up next to the other actor and just be. Styles, I see you. And just do everything I could to get him freaked out.
Oh my gosh. By the way, just compliments to you.
Thank you.
Yes.
This is fantastic. Your body language, your voice, everything. It's so encompassing. And of course, Dylan O'Brien, he's amazing as well. But I think a lot of people aren't separating the fact that you are also a big
Yes.
part of his character this
Yes.
season. And you deserve
That's
such a
true.
huge round of applause
Oh,
from
thanks.
everyone.
Thanks.
Yes,
Wow.
absolutely.
And him too. Like,
Absolutely,
it was a
but you
fun
guys as a
tag team,
duel, just
Yeah.
And I think he does an
fantastic.
amazing
He
job
does.
taking
Yeah.
that on.
He does, but I
The
love
transformation of what he does is incredible.
Absolutely.
And you know what got really fun was that we'd, just in terms of being able to technically pull it off as actors, we started having to watch each other's performance a lot too, because we realized we were living the same life.
Right.
So we had to, for ourselves as actors, set in that what happened in the scene with the other person was also our life.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Did you guys
And-
eat the same set food? Did you go to bed at the same time? I want to know how deep
what's
it got.
interesting is he and I don't know if you know, but he and Posey, on the first. I would hear him talk about this on the first season. Was shot in Atlanta,
Right.
and they were roommates, and you can so see that in their friendship on set. It is so sweet and so endearing, and it comes through in the show so much that these guys lived the dorm room best friends in the first year of it, and it's so awesome that happened in that year, because that's the year where you don't know if your show's gonna work or not, man.
Exactly.
Nobody's seen this show yet. You're just doing your best. You don't really know what you got your hands on, and that relationship has solidified the friendship in the show for
Absolutely.
them, and really has solidified that those two guys are all heart on the set, man. They are amazing, those two guys, to be on the set with.
That's really great to hear, and
is.
some good
It's fun to
inside
be with.
information, because it definitely comes through on screen, and
I
that's
was
always
gonna
great
say,
to
yeah.
have those kind of relationships outside, because it just makes everything, the chemistry, believable to the audience because it's already there. Before we get too much into this episode, I want to tell everybody at home that Maria Menounos is the executive producer of AFTERBUZZ. If you guys didn't know, I'm sure you know. She has a reality show, Chasing Maria, premiering tonight at 10 p.m., 9 Central on the Oxygen channel. You guys have got to check it out. It's very exciting. Let's just check out a little promo.
Tuesdays on Oxygen.
I'm Maria Menounos, and my life can get a little crazy. I host Extra. I'm an actor, producer, dancer, wrestler, and a lot of other things. I live with Kevin, my boyfriend of 15 years. Do you really love me?
I would say that I'm in serious like.
And my parents. Yep, I just said I live with my parents.
You drive me crazy.
You drive me crazy. My parents want us to get married.
You both love each other. Get married.
Kevin and I don't. I am going to get married when I want to get married. I think I want kids. Kevin definitely doesn't want them now.
This is being pushed on to us.
And of course, my parents wanted them yesterday.
This year, you gotta have it.
And I have a house full of people counting on me financially. If I take my eye off the ball, everything can fall apart.
It doesn't matter what anybody else thinks or wants us to do. It's what we want to do.
Everyone thinks that they know what's best for me, but I'm really the only one. I have got to figure things out.
Chasing Maria Menounos is so new. Every Tuesday at 10, 9 Central, starting March 18, only on Oxygen.
All right, guys, we're back. Let's go ahead and start breaking down the episode.
Yes.
So we can't avoid it any longer. We have to talk about Allison's death.
Oh my gosh.
Now, this show it's dangerous, and I feel like that's why they killed off a main character. I have no idea who is going to fill that spot. Maybe it's Kira now that, Scott has a new love interest. Maybe now she'll be in the main sequence in the beginning of the show, the credits. But it was a really heroic, and it was done beautifully, the end of her character. And she said in an interview, she really identified with Allison as Crystal Reed, who plays Allison in the show. She's like, this was a huge part of me growing into, a woman. And, a lot of the characters started on the show when they were very young. And she said that this is, she's grieving right now, losing almost a part of herself. That was Allison. So it was really hard to kind of hear her and everyone on set. But, the slogan in the writer's room, Christian Taylor said, is no one really dies on Teen Wolf.
No, they got all sorts of ways of making you back alive again.
Yes.
Maybe some saliva from Scott being that close to her dripped in her mouth, and she'll be back next week as a wolf. We can only hope.
Nice. Oh,
I'm sure not gonna happen. But I just thought, that whole scene with her and her father and Argent saying, "Don't go without me, wait." He didn't say why she should wait, but obviously the moral of this story is listen to your parents or die.
I loved the scene where she turned to him and said, "Dad, I want to tell you some things." And I thought, it was a scene where it was like, like you said, some of the actors on the show have the experience of growing into being professionals on the show. And I thought it was so awesome that...
And just adults.
Yes, yeah. And then they made that moment a part of the show for that character about making her choices as an individual, making her choices as a woman, reconciling what she needed to with her parents, and then sacrificing her life, like giving her life for what she believed in, which was the people she loved.
Protecting those who cannot protect themselves. And she kept the code. She died living the code. She protected Isaac from dying. And I'm sure that's going to have a huge impact on him, considering they had that little moment in the car this episode where it seemed like Allison was trying to define the relationship and see if he was himself whenever they had their sexual relations in the last episodes. But it's definitely really sad to see her go. But I loved that moment with Scott where she was kind of in that epic moment of death, sort of realizing those feelings that maybe she should have said to him earlier. I'm not sure, but in that moment, it does. And Christian Taylor was saying, if you're lucky enough to have a first love, you'll remember it forever. And it was nice to kind of get that in that moment. But it was so refreshing, as Teen Wolf always is, and Jeff Davis with his writing, that they didn't keep going with that sort of make-believe world that we're always seeing in TV and film, just that everything is always happy ever after. This is what is this saying about fate and true love, It's like the reality that we normally don't get. And I really liked that. Perhaps that the truth that you don't always end up with your first love is kind of conveyed in Teen Wolf, and all the pains and obstacles of life, that it's not always happy ever after, but more like happy even after in Teen Wolf, because even after, all the characters go through these grievances as a teenager, it definitely feels like your world is over when you lose someone you love, when all these things happen to you for the first time. So it's nice that we're getting that refreshing take on first love. What did you guys think about that?
Well, I just want to give a shout out to one of our amazing viewers, Derek Sourwolf, because I just love this because she, I'm not sure if it's a he or a she, but they asked if the creators are trying to hurt the fans on purpose, because it was just so heartbreaking. And, I don't think that they were intentionally trying to hurt, our feelings, although, like I said, I was crying my eyes out, but it's, like you said, it's a part of life,
Well, and, the question of are you trying to hurt us, it actually goes to the heart of the matter of what you were saying, Kristen, which is, in a certain way, yes. In a certain way, part of the storyline serves to say, this is painful. Loving people can be painful, and people dying who you're close to can be painful. And I think you're right. If they want, for us as an audience, if they want to create a world in which we have respect and have, we believe in the danger that our heroes are in, they have to make us aware your heroes die sometimes. They die. So I think part of the answer is yes, they're trying to hurt you.
I agree.
Not to make you mad, but to make you feel that this hurts. You lose someone you care for, it hurts,
I absolutely agree with that. I feel like today too many TV shows and films kind of set unrealistic expectations for the audiences and viewers out there, that they're going to meet this dream guy, he's going to come in on a horse and save them from their life, and they're going to get married, and it's going to be happy ever after, and it's not realistically like that. So I think that Teen Wolf is doing a great job of preparing their audience for the realistic, things that happen in life that you have to get over, like happiness even after all those things. It's not always happy ever after, and I am so glad that Jeff doesn't take that route.
Well, and I'm sorry, Jim. Go ahead. It's your show. What am I just sitting here?
No, they want to hear you. Trust me.
Well, I mean, it's when you look at Scott as our protagonist, it's interesting that happens as a major part of the third season, because it's when you look at sort of the young hero's journey, the idea of losing a parent and becoming an individual, the idea of having a mentor, having allies, having best friends. These are all, Joseph Campbell-esque steps along the way. And one of the big steps is losing love, having real love and losing it. It's part of going from being a boy to being a man, And so it's interesting here in the third year that became the moment to put him through that pain,
Right.
Absolutely. I mean, Scott even says at the end of season 2, I think, it's fate. We're going to be together forever to Allison. I know it. And how is this going to impact him, gaining his strength to be the alpha that this town needs to protect them whenever one of his absolute truths of life that he believed in so deeply is now shattered? I mean, that's really going to change his character.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And, I'm sorry.
You go.
I was just going to say that, and I feel like even Isaac felt it. Isaac knew that, this was not a moment to butt in, which is sad, because he was starting to really have something with Allison. But then that's his alpha, and he was like, okay, I better stay behind the scenes for this one.
Well, I mean, that's
tough, though.
It is tough.
That's a great point I didn't think of. I think they definitely, Allison and Isaac had a different kind of love. It did seem like they were starting to fall for each other, but it was an interesting choice that he totally kept out of it. I had not thought about that. But, is he going to take the blame now for her dying because she kind of saved him?
Oh, I don't think anyone's going to blame him. Who would blame
But
him? Other than himself.
Exactly.
Right? Yeah,
That's the
himself.
question.
Right. And there was a lot of pain in his eyes.
Well, I mean, when you think about just like, when you think about it, if you put your own human self in those shoes, like it's a real opportunity for those two to have a much tighter friendship or to not be friends at all.
That's a great point.
Isaac and Scott.
It's, it can be the thing that like they have a knowledge of each other in that loss, or be the thing that really divides them.
Right, and now Argent, he lost his sister, he lost his wife, he lost his daughter.
Whoa.
Where is he going to turn with all this grief? And can we expect maybe another family member to show up next season for him?
I think like Derek. I think he's going to turn to Derek because Derek's kind of in a similar situation. He lost everybody, and so I feel like he's either going to go. But I do think somebody might come back. Maybe Kate, maybe Mama Argent.
Well, yeah, exactly. They
Or
always have
somebody
those
new.
surprise family members that show up.
What was the
in his
bullet
life,
about?
I
Like that
don't know.
case,
Yes, I
when they were
don't
going
know.
after the twins. Do you really
That's
not
totally-
know?
I really don't know. That's
Okay.
one that, I'm
Well-
not kidding. Sometimes we would shoot scripts and have a couple of pages of the script on the day we'd start shooting. They like
They
to
keep it a
even keep
secret
us
from you
guessing.
guys.
They do.
I think
They'll tell
that's
us on a
Yeah.
basis of like, you need to know this in order to be able to play the scene, but
But most stuff you don't need to know.
No.
They're not going to tell you.
Well, and they
I
like
don't
having
know.
their options open. They do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I agree with that
creative
choice.
staff is
That's
amazing,
awesome, yeah.
They like to see for themselves where the story's going.
I want to know how long Allison knew she was going to die before she died.
I think that's a great question because I feel like she almost knew. She was ready. She was prepared.
sad this whole season, I felt. So, yeah, like when Scott tries to take her pain and he's like, why can't I take your pain? She's like, because it doesn't hurt.
Oh my God. Was that just like, oh my God, how brilliant was that?
It was
Just-
brilliant, but it was just like she was ready. She had been ready for a while to sacrifice for her friends. And she and Scott, perhaps that's why they sort of worked so well together, because like Scott, he's always ready to lay down for any of his friends. So, it was beautiful. It was very heroic to see her ending there, but I do hope that
We'll see that
some
face again.
way
I do think
she
there's
comes
more.
back, because just as an audience member, of course we all want that.
Yeah.
So however Jeff can abracadabra make a new spirit happen and use Allison's old body, do that.
and Reese also. So now we have Allison, we have Reese, we want Mama Argent back.
That's awesome. Maybe they should make a spin-off
of
show
all the
about
people
all
who
the
die.
dead people. And there's some
at least an
alternate
episode.
universe
Yeah,
where all the deadies
that
of
would
Teen
be
Wolf
great.
exist.
I think we should pitch that next week to Jeff. Jeff is
Awesome.
going to come in next week.
Awesome.
And we definitely have a few ideas for him that I'm
Very
sure he
cool.
will just love.
Very
But
cool. Yeah.
I usually feel that heart sinking into my stomach feeling when something horrible happens to me, but personally, but I felt that with Allison's death. So it's great that TV and Jeff's writing and all the writers on the show has the ability to do that to us. So let's go ahead and talk about Nogitsune Styles. He kidnaps Lydia. She left clues for all her friends saying, don't find me.
Yeah.
So did she know that by coming, one of her friends were going to die? Is that what we should infer here?
Well, what I think was interesting is that, you get, and it happens so quickly in that last few minutes, that she had a plan working that wasn't going to work, but that she had her own plan of saying, I'm going to go along as the prisoner because if I can keep him busy till nightfall, I know the Oni will come and save my butt and take him down. If I can keep him occupied on me, then all I got to do is stay alive until, and also, I mean, they've set up a lot of things recently going on with Lydia in terms of her figuring out to handle all the voices she hears, and I think it brings up an interesting thing, again, among teenage friendships about how much they trust her judgment in that moment. Not trust like she's going to lie to me, but trust does she know what the heck she's talking about?
That's a great point.
And so she gets abducted and says, no, don't come find me. at that point they might not have a lot of faith that her judgment is the best judgment, you know?
Yeah, and hopefully with, this new band, Meredith coming on the show, her friends will learn to trust her after Meredith has kind of showed her the ropes.
Yeah.
And hopefully you let Meredith out of Eichen House.
Oh my gosh, she's
Now
so
that
great.
actress is awesome too.
She's
I
amazing.
loved shooting with that actress.
Yeah,
we
she's
had
really
a
great.
blast. Yeah, I mean, we'll see what happens in Eichen House. It's so, I mean, like we were saying, Jeff is, he's so good at what I call sleeper cells. Like, he sets up things where there's so much going on, and who knows when he'll blow up this bomb, and who knows how it'll explode, and who knows how much Meredith plays then into these people's lives, whether she continues on, whether Eichen House becomes a different location that we're familiar with, whether she continues on now as sort of a member of the pack there or what.
Well, we did hear from Christian Taylor that she comes back in season 4. So hopefully she will now be Lydia's friend, not to replace Allison, but Lydia's definitely going to need someone to turn to.
Right.
She's going to need a new friendship. She's been needing a banshee to kind of show her the ropes. And we got that Lydia kind of plucking the strings that Styles had set up in his room.
Right, the spiderweb thing.
Earlier this season, and then we kind of saw her doing it with the piano.
Dude,
so
I'm
Lydia,
telling you, he's so good. No mistake.
Yeah,
no mistake.
Obviously, there's a parallel there, and that's part of their talent, and we're going to hopefully get more of that explained next season or next week.
Yeah. But I love that the one who the one who's the mentor is also a total nut job. like that's it's
I
cold
know.
comfort.
She's misunderstood. She's not crazy. She's a banshee.
What about the
She's just been tased too many
The whole
times.
thing about the phone was definitely like she's definitely a little out of it.
All right.
Maybe
I think
she
it's
got
the
tased too
drugs
many
you're
times.
giving her.
Yes,
It's your fault.
Yeah, we're horrible people. We're horrible people at Eichen House. It's true. Or we don't know.
Getting back to the Nogitsune Styles a little bit, so he took that tail that Kira's mom had, the last one, broke it. Now he controls the Oni, and that's how we got this war. And, it's interesting that Kira's mom has been getting in the way this season, really. She's been trying to help, but by not involving her daughter and Kira having to do this mother-daughter battle, she's actually really being, standing in the way of Kira's success in helping the pack.
Right.
So hopefully her mother finally gives in and decides to do it Scott's way, because she doesn't have the connections with the pack and saving these kids' lives. And she is still not being helpful to any of them. And she's actually prolonging, and perhaps responsible in a way for people getting hurt.
Well, and when you look at her story individually, like you really get that she's lived her whole life with the guilt of, I asked for this force of destruction.
Right.
In my biggest moment of sorrow, I did this to the world. So you can get how, the lesson there, you talk about lessons is you get blinded by things you're obsessive about. And she's obsessive about, I'm going to handle this, and that you're right. Like it gets in the way because she can't see what the facts are,
That's
Absolutely. And then Dylan O'Brien said his favorite part of being like the Nogitsune Void Styles, the craziness, is the makeup that they put on him, because he has never got to be in the makeup chair.
Right. Oh, yeah.
So he loves all the crazy
He's always the
makeup.
normal guy.
Yeah, so he loves getting all that done, and I'm sure you spent a lot of hours in the chair getting the wraps.
I gotta tell you, here, we're getting into territory I don't know if I'm allowed to talk about. But it's territory
we keep
of the
secrets
past,
here.
So it won't be so terrible. The Nogitsune was not definitely going to be an ongoing part of the season. It was supposed to be, it was possibly going to be a very short-lived part that was sort of a lesser counterpart to the Oni. So the first time we did it, the first episode I was on, it was a much more elaborate process. And then by the time episode, 320 came around, and they were like, oh, he's built to last. I have to tell you, that effects team was amazing. They made, they had, in the shape of my body, sewed a bandage shirt that literally just I stepped into and zipped up the back.
Wow.
And the same thing with this hood. And
it was a hood. It wasn't like individual wraps.
They had made a whole like ski mask type hood that I would just do this, zip the sucker up, put the teeth in. The only thing that we never quite perfect. So I mean, we could make that change in like 15 minutes. I mean, we really like. I gotta hand it to them. They got that down to a science.
Wow,
the only thing that was always a pain was you can't see out of it.
Oh.
And you especially if there's a light directed at you, it just flares. It's like looking through 20 screen doors all stacked up. So you can kind of see that there's stuff there, but you can't see what it is.
So you really were, as you said earlier, seeing with your teeth in a way, because you didn't have your eyes.
It's, one of the things that became behavioral in the Nogitsune that was totally just the accident of the makeup was that, I don't know if you notice it, but I would place my hands on everything.
Yes, I noticed
that. Every time I'd walk around, I'd grab things and I'd grab people. And it was literally because we'd rehearse it without the mask on, and I'd do my best to remember where everything was, but the only way I knew was as I knew I was getting close to a piece of furniture, I'd grab it. As I knew I was getting close to a person, I'd grab them. And so it was great because it suddenly made this whole behavior of like clawing at everything, but no, it happened because I couldn't see it. Yeah.
That's such a great fact to kind of bring in that, the makeup, all those different things can affect the portrayal of the character, and that may have not happened had you been able to see.
Well, and it's the fun part that really is like the team part of building something like that is if you can, you stay with a lot of creative people, like rather than hitting that moment and going, oh, this is a disaster, he can't see, okay, well, he's got to have eyes, we just changed our mind, like you solve it somehow, you find a way to solve it, and it ends up with this cool little effect that you didn't even count on,
Yeah, I think it was Crystal Reed who said that, it takes a village to make this show, and she's going to miss the cast and crew the most.
They are awesome. They are so fun to be
Is she doing something else now?
She said that she doesn't know what's next for her, but, she just wants to keep telling great stories.
We'll see that girl again.
Yeah,
absolutely.
We'll see that, it's a funny thing about pilot season. Like, there's a lot of shows that nobody even knows the title of shows yet, and we're all out there auditioning for these shows and making deals, and, like, until the day that that show is airing, we're not allowed to say a dang word about a lot of this stuff, but I guarantee you we'll see that girl again.
Absolutely.
Right.
So Scott learns why his dad left, and it was apparently a drunken mistake. His dad was a drunk, and he sort of accidentally knocked Scott down the stairs, and Scott hit his head really hard when he was young, and he was out for
That's
a while.
That's a good episode. I forgot what a good episode is until you're telling me all about it again.
And then Scott takes his dad around the house, and he was like, here's where I crashed into this glass, and now it's not there anymore. Here's where I did this, and that's great, because I'm sure Jeff was thinking in his head all the bumps and bruises he got in his family's house, and you can kind of put that into your story, those little details that make a character that we love. But it seems like that, Scott didn't remember, so that doesn't even bother him. What makes him so upset is that his father wasn't there. Yeah. He was a child, and he doesn't know why, and it still doesn't make sense that he would put all this into one excuse of, this is why I wasn't there for you. And I don't think Scott was accepting of it, and I'm not accepting of it as an audience member, and like a lot of teens who maybe experience their father not being there for them. I feel like he owes him more. There's obviously more to the story, and I hope that we get it, because maybe next season we'll get it. Maybe they'll build some father-son relationships. But for his father to blame it on one action as to why he wasn't there isn't good enough for Scott, and I don't think Scott should have forgiven him yet either.
Yeah, I completely agree. I don't think that's the full story, and I don't understand why Scott wouldn't forgive his mother for that.
Yeah, exactly. So there's more for that.
I think maybe she might have cheated on him, and then because of that, he got.
Yeah. You're like, he's about to tell us something. I'm not telling you anything. I'm not telling you anything. But I will say that you're right. It's an interesting. I think it is an interesting part that what's going on in the show right now, and the dynamic of it, of the moments where our teenage characters are really able to stand up and be the men and women and say, look, I'm not, you may be obsessed with this one detail, but I'm not. I'm moving on with my life. And then the moments where they're not. Because it's interesting for any one of us, the things we'll forgive, and for some reason there's something else we just can't. God, we can't let that go in life, you know?
Yeah, and I think what you said just now is really important for us all to reflect on, is there may be one thing we're obsessed with, you know, that's keeping us acting one way or keeping us from thinking that we can, you know, be in a relationship or be there for a son, a daughter, a friend, whatever. We're obsessing over one detail. But normally that the other person would totally not even focus on that detail. So it's like this weird obsession that we do with ourselves that prevent us from doing a lot of things in life and saying a lot of things to people that we care about. And maybe Allison and Scott could have been together this season if they said what they really felt, or you know, I don't know. I felt like it was a good relationship and a good friendship it turned into, and I was glad maybe they didn't end up together forever because it's refreshing. But the things we obsess with as human beings really prevent us from achieving what we really could.
It's amazing, and I love the duality of the scene of Allison with her father and the scene of Scott with his father in terms of like
that was a great
Argent
parallel.
is so the Mad Max hollow shell of a man, like everything's been taken from, and yet he has this wonderful scene where it's funny because he's teaching her how to make a weapon, but he's enjoying his daughter growing up, like he's enjoying the father-daughter of I'm proud of you, I'm proud, you can see, and I love the performance in that scene because he's smiling and he's close to her, and then the parallel scene of having the son confront his dad about this one thing happened in life, and as a result, you went off the deep end and you weren't there.
Yeah, you just
quit. And what if Argent, to parallel, go back on, what if he never got over Scott being a werewolf and was always obsessed with that one fact? He would have not got to see his daughter grow up. She would have needed him as a father and him not been there, like Scott's dad wasn't there for him. So maybe he's the opposite father that we're supposed to see, who got over his obsession and was able to, you know, triumph over what was thrown at him and, you know, still be a great father to her and not let those things get in the way.
I definitely think, you know, I know that Jeff reads an unbelievable amount of mythology. You know, that there's so much in these scripts that we relate to because it's mythologically based, and myths get written on that collective conscious, those things we all identify with somehow. And those three fathers in it, like, I've often read those scripts and thought, like, these are sort of the three faces of your dad. You know what I mean? Your dad who fails you, your dad who always comes through for you, and then your dad that you don't really know. And Argent has that quality of, he lives in a world of so much strangeness and possibility that he actually, a wonderful part of his characteristic is, even though he's got some codes, he's also able to move on. The world doesn't surprise him, you know what I mean? When something surprising happens, he takes it in stride, you know what I mean? Yeah, I love that about that character.
I think Jeff should write a book. Another one of our viewers, Jonathan Lucas, said that we should ask Jeff to make like an encyclopedia of like all things Teen Wolf and like all the supernatural creatures and like just like
all his tidbits that he's always throwing at us.
Yeah, and the mythology, like, and just call it the Argent's Bestiary. I think that's
that's awesome.
Cool. I think that's
oh my gosh,
awesome.
He needs to go. Whoever that viewer was, like, go trademark that now, so you get a cut on this, man. It's a great idea.
It is. It's a great idea, and I think he's right. I think so many people would just read it.
Absolutely, and I think we talked to Christian Taylor last week and was like, you know, he had said that they had played with the idea of doing a prequel because we had that one throwback episode with young Derek, and June and I were like, hey, do a movie, do a short film, do Teen Wolf, anything. I think that they don't, you know, even realize the magnitude of the fandom out there for Teen Wolf and how they're sort of raising, you know, the audience. They really are.
I think they just now are realizing that.
Maybe they are.
I think, like, you know, this is season 3 is you know, my first season on, and like I said, I had to get caught up about what the real, you know, Bible of Teen Wolf was. But like, I noticed that the fan base like leapt up on this show in the past year, like, and it's reflective in the work that's being done. The work that's being done is really good. Like, it deserves it.
Absolutely.
It deserves it.
Well, I want to just mention our last topic and then roll into an interview with you before we run out of time. So Deaton takes the evil fly spirits out of the twins and Isaac, and we assume Derek. And the twins are shot. We're not sure who did it. We can maybe predict that it's someone from Argent's family, even maybe Gerard, but maybe someone we haven't seen yet is coming into play, which he needs right now. And then maybe it's a good thing that Scott never really let the twins into the pack because, you know, they did piss off a lot of people. They have a lot of enemies, and I think he would have taken on their enemies by letting them in the pack. So maybe it's a good thing that he kind of kept them on the outside. It could be the Mexican hunters also that we saw in like the first episode. Maybe they're coming to surface. Maybe they are actually related to Argent. Who knows?
Yeah.
So hopefully we'll get that. Let's go ahead and ask you a few questions because we're just so happy that you could be here with us.
I'm so psyched you're asked. What fun.
You're an incredible guest. I mean, we got you like acting during the show. You were teaching us the Nogitsune walk. This has been so much fun, but now I think the fans deserve to know a little bit more about the man behind the mask.
Shoot.
So what from your childhood specifically would you say contributed to you wanting to be an actor?
Man, you know, I have to say, I can't remember the day I didn't want to be, you know, or I can't remember the day that I did want to be. I remember, you know, you remember stupid little things. I remember, I remember loving the notion, I mean, which I think a lot of actors do, loving the notion of making believe long before you even knew it was a job, you know, and that if you love that, somewhere along the way, you can't really identify where the moment hit you that this was a career to have, but it's just suddenly decided. Like, it's just, this is what I'm gonna do. This is what I spend all my time doing anyway, you know, and so, I mean, I think it would just have to be that.
Were you doing that as a child? Like,
well, you know what's interesting is I was born in like suburban Midwest, but I spent a significant amount of my childhood, at least some really formative years for me, sort of growing up in the sticks, like real, like Little House on the Prairie, middle of nowhere.
Me too.
And I, you know, my family, when I was in the 4th grade, went to Alaska and homesteaded.
Wow.
And I mean, just truly like walked off into the woods and knocked down some trees and made a house.
Awesome.
And
that does sound awesome.
it was awesome.
Let's do that.
It was awesome, but it's definitely like you know, I think that something I really get now that I'm glad to have had as part of my childhood, even though that wasn't my whole childhood, it was part of my childhood experiences, when you're not in the world that is in touch, you're left with your own imagination.
Totally.
And you're also taught in a rural lifestyle, you know, you may relate, you become self-sufficient at a different age. Like you've got it, there's stuff you gotta handle during the day, and you gotta, you know, just walk farther to school. Like, I mean, even little stuff like that, you know, and
shovel snow
and chop firewood and stuff like that. And so, as much as that's maybe a weird question to answer to why'd you become an actor, like,
I understand.
At that time in my life, it left me in this huge, very real world, often alone or with just a few people, and you're left with your own imagination, and the world has such magnitude around you, you know, and I think it's definitely why I became such a physical actor, because I love playing roles that are visceral, that you know, use the human body in some way that's fun and profound and weird, you know, and
absolutely. Yeah. Well, that's probably the best answer we've ever gotten here. I'm not kidding, and I completely relate to that, because, you know, being out there in the woods, there wasn't a movie theater when I grew up. Somerset, Pennsylvania, like 2 hours south of Pittsburgh.
It's beautiful.
It's
a beautiful part of the country.
But there's nothing there. So all we have is like campfires to develop our relationships with other people, to grow as a human being, to chop wood, to really be alone in your head and be imaginative. And that's all you have. So I completely understand what you're saying.
But I feel like you guys got to get an opportunity to do something that a lot of people who grow up in the city don't, is that really be in touch with nature, which is an incredibly creative and powerful thing.
Absolutely.
You know? It's very inspirational, I feel.
It's pretty great. I mean, definitely, even still, you know, I feel the deficiency of it at certain there's certain things that I'm just like I just can't put down my bone club and get with the program of the modern world. But
I agree.
But I definitely like all I
camping.
I had a friend.
Gotta go camping.
You totally do. But I have a friend who just a couple of weeks ago was on the phone with me, and she was saying, I'm just so down today. I don't know why, but everything's just. I said, well, it was the first rain day of the year, and she was blown away by that. And I said, you live in a place where the sun shines all the time. It was the first time it was dark and rainy, and you do. If you grow up in a rural lifestyle, you get it that stuff makes a difference.
Oh, it does.
It makes a difference. It really does.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm in sync with the weather, but yes, we could go on that topic forever. It's my favorite topic. I'm a nature's child. I write about it. Cinematic escape.
Awesome.
Yeah. But going on to more about you, because that's why we're here. Was there ever a point where maybe a parent or someone told you, it's not realistic to be an actor, maybe you should consider another option? Did you ever consider another option? And what was it?
No, I didn't ever consider another
That's
option.
amazing.
When I was 4, I wanted to be an archaeologist.
All right.
But
that's a common answer for a lot of actors, surprisingly. Like the exploration.
I believe it. Yes, because you love to discover things.
Yeah, you love to discover
adventure.
Exactly.
You love adventure, and it's funny. Like I consider more what I'd do differently, like now when my career's working, and it's not even. It's only because, listen, and this is a taboo thing to say as an actor in LA. You're not supposed to say this, but I say this to actors younger than me all the time, which is, my career in the world has handed me exactly what I asked for. Nobody put a gun to my head and say, do this. I do it because I want to, and I know a lot of people in this business who, they hit places where they're unhappy and they're disillusioned and they're mad. And I say to younger actors than me all the time, if the day comes that you realize I don't like this anymore, quit and do something else.
Because it'll be a lot easier, that's for sure.
Not only a lot easier, it's what are you trying to prove?
Right.
At the end of the day, be happy for as many hours of your life as you can.
Absolutely.
And if this doesn't make you happy, don't do it.
It's a choice, and don't forget that.
That's true.
A lot of people I know, they choose misery, and it's like, whatever you're doing right now, change your patterns, change everything, and I guarantee you'll be a lot happier.
Yeah. Well, and it's a hard thing in this town because one of the lessons you get taught so early on is you're gonna have to endure a lot of rejection and punishment. Right. And I think it gets to a point where people feel like you go too far with that lesson. You feel like I'm not allowed to quit. I can't be the guy who said I've had enough, because then it feels like losing, you know?
Totally.
And I end up saying to other actors all the time, look, if you discover you want to do something else, you're the guy who won. The joke is on us. Those of us who are still here like friggin' idiots beating our head against the wall. And so if it were, I do sometimes think about, if the day came for whatever reason that I was done with this, I'd move far, far away again. That's what I'd do. I'd get far away, and I'd either try to get, like a forestry job, or I'd get a job on a boat somewhere.
Me too. Oh my God, we're so much same. We're so much same. I always talk about quitting my job and just painting boats.
How awesome would that be?
That'd be awesome.
How awesome would that be? And the world would become simpler, and you'd think all those things I was worried about all that time. Boy, doesn't that seem stupid now? But right now I'm having a lot of fun, so I think I'll keep doing it for a while.
There's a lot of gray.
And we definitely don't want you to go anywhere.
Oh, well, thank you.
Especially with these amazing performances.
Thank you.
So, just a few more questions.
Sure.
What's maybe a character or something you're like dying to play, because as an actor, you kind of get to choose, you choose your role to some extent, and then there's also that like dream job that you want. You said you definitely wanted this, but is there like another villain you want to play, a baseball player, a rock star? Like, what's like a dream part?
Well, I have a couple of career ambitions, and some of them are very specific and some of them are very vague. Actually, in the genre of Teen Wolf, and maybe it's why I like that character so much, I have always loved, because I love mythology too, I've loved the witch hunter characters. They're incredibly interesting people. The people who are human beings dealing in the world of supernatural, and there's a lot of, you know, I did a circus show for a while, and
Really?
Yeah.
What did you do in the circus show?
Oh, I did trapeze act, and I would do this specific act that was called a koshari, which is the Zuni character that we see, you might have seen at some point, it's painted up and down black and white stripes, and they are trickster characters.
I'm from a circus family.
Are you? I would do because it comes from Pueblo culture, I would do a ladder act, where you balance these tall ladders and you get it balanced and climb way up to the top of it, balanced on end, and do these tricks on the top of it. And so I spent some time, my folks both work in the Four Corners in Colorado on a reservation. So I spent, as a white boy, spent some time in that culture, and and was always very fascinated with the myths of the skinwalkers and the myths of the kosharis, and so those characters that are in the world of Teen Wolf, that are those hunter characters, the man trying to grapple in the maze of the supernatural is always very intriguing to me, and then ultra specific. I want to play anything where I get to fist fight Daniel Craig. That's a career goal of mine. Is I want to fist fight Daniel Craig.
I want to say, what are you doing to prepare for this fight?
Well, listen, I watch his moves. I've got a better reach than him because he's a thick guy, but he's a little shorter than me.
Are you taking classes?
Listen,
are you ready?
I'm a dangerous guy. But I love him, man. I think he's a guy who I've loved his career since he was. I know a lot of his old school stuff because he's my type of guy. I love those guys. I love the Humphrey Bogart actors, and now I just love that he's the new face on this giant franchise of 007, and so that's my very specific career goals. I want to fist fight Daniel Craig.
Well, we'll talk to Jeff next week.
Thanks.
And see if we can get that next season, because personally, I don't see why not.
I don't see why not.
We make dreams come true here on AfterBuzz.
Yes, we do.
Before we end, can you just give us a quick set story that you really enjoy with the crew, the actors?
There's a bunch of them, and I gotta say, the people on set are amazing. First off, and okay, this is my first day there ever. God, I'm gonna be in so much trouble. It's too late now. I'm into this story. I was just there for a wardrobe fitting, and I had never watched an episode of the show. I got cast. I'd watched 10 minutes of it online, so I could sort of know what goes on in the show. I instantly loved it. Started preparing it. Got cast. The next day was in for the wardrobe fitting. Was like, gotta go home and catch up on these episodes, so I know who all these people are. So I go and I meet Dylan, and I've seen a scene with him. All right, and I've seen a scene with Derek. I've seen a scene with Argent, but I've never seen a scene with Scott. And so I sit down in the chair. I'm talking to Dylan, and this guy comes in, sits down next to me, and says, "Hey, what's up?" And Dylan starts talking to him a little bit, and I shake his hand, and he says, "Hey, what's your name?" And I said, "I'm Aaron. I'm the new guest star on the show." And he's like, "Oh, that's awesome." I said, "What do you do on the show?" He goes, "Well, I'm one of the actors on the show." And he gets up and walks away, and Dylan says to me, "That's the Teen Wolf. You know that, right? That's the star of the show." And he was so sweet about it.
But
he could have been like, "Who is this jerk off who doesn't know it's my show he's on?" But Posey was so sweet about it.
Yeah, he
didn't say a
seems
dang word.
Guy.
It was so awesome.
That is so hilarious. Yeah,
That's
he's
a great
such
story.
a sweet guy. Seems. That is hilarious. Oh my God.
Well, I think that was the perfect story to end on. Thank you so much, Aaron, for coming in.
Oh, thanks for having me.
Do you have a
blast.
website and a Twitter handle where the fans can catch up with you and follow what you're doing?
Yeah, that's the best way. Follow me at Loudmouth Tarzan. That's my Twitter handle. Aaron Hendry at Loudmouth. It's from when I was a trapeze artist. I've sort of made a profession out of being able to talk weird and yell loud too, oddly enough. So yeah, follow me me at Loudmouth Tarzan.
Well, it's been such a pleasure having you. Thank you so much for joining us.
Awesome, thank you.
And June, where can we follow you?
Oh, you guys can follow me at Twitter, Miss_June Lee, and at Instagram, Miss June Lee without the underscore.
All right, great. Well, thank you guys for joining us. You know, you can follow me at Cinematic Escape on Twitter, or you can check out my blog, Cinematic Escape. It's been lovely this evening with Aaron, and hopefully you guys can all join us next week with Jeff in the finale of Teen Wolf.
Oh, miss it. He's good.
Bye, guys.
gosh.
See you next week.
Bye.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.
Thank you for watching AfterBuzz TV on YouTube. For more of your favorite after shows and interviews, subscribe to our channel here, and be sure to share your opinion on the episode in the comment section below here. We'd love to see what you guys are buzzing about. Thanks again. Buzz you later.